Good evening. Tonight on We Repair Stuff, I'm going to take you through repairing an iPhone 5S. Brought in by one of my customers. Their daughter kindly smashed their phone to pieces, so we're going to do a screen replace. First thing you need to do is remove the two pentalobe screws at the bottom of the screen on the frame and pop those out. I find with these, the 5S is the easiest way is just to get something pointy and pop it between the bottom of the glass and the metal frame and just pry it up very carefully, but being careful along the bottom of the screen because that's where the fingerprint sensor connects. So just do it in one corner if you're going to do it. Um, I do this mainly when there's a very bad crack in the screen. So as long as you push gently and just do it very carefully, and then you won't get the home button cable and you'll be absolutely fine. Next thing to do is pop the screen up and then disconnect the home button cable. Don't pull the screen off immediately. I get a lot of broken home buttons that way because people have tried to replace the screen and damage the cable. So as you can see, just pop the connector off and then open the screen fully. I'm going to pop it into my eye hook bracket just to hold it whilst I unscrew the screws. First thing we need to do is disconnect the battery, and we always do that before we do any other work, and that way we won't cause any damage to the board. And then once we've done that, we will remove the next 5 screws that hold the screen connections in place. So that's the battery disconnected. So unscrew the 4 screws even. So once the 4 screws have been removed, we then remove the metal bracket, and then we just need to disconnect the 3 connections that hold the LCD, the digitizer, and the front camera and speaker assembly in place. I'll remove my eye hook bracket, and then we no longer need the frame, and the next thing we do is prep the new screen to be fitted. So we just need to remove the home button from the old screen. That has to be transferred over, otherwise the fingerprint sensor will no longer work if you put a ready-made screen with the button in it straight into the phone. So it's just 3 screws to disconnect that, and then you need to very, very carefully lift the button out. This one's been done before, so I know the adhesive's been loosened, so I just remove the metal bracket and give it a little bit of a push from the front, and it should come out no problem at all. If you were doing this with one that hadn't been removed, you do need to heat the glass up a bit to loosen the adhesive under the button to get it out. So I've got a ready-made new screen with all the parts on it. The only thing I need to do is attach the button. So we just pop that in, push it into place, and then push the little flex cable down very gently. There are 2 little sort of plastic dots there that will hold it in place. We pop the metal bracket back on and screw those 2 connections down. Um, just make sure they're tight, but it doesn't need to be very, very firm, otherwise you won't be able to press the button down once it's been screwed in. In this case, the little screw that holds the flex cable in place has also come detached. You just need to put the little metal bracket back underneath the flex cable, push the flex cable down really carefully, and then screw the screw in. Unfortunately, it does occasionally happen when you undo these things. But as I say, it's very straightforward to push back in. So that's the home button reattached to the new screen. Now we can reconnect it. So again, in reverse, we need to connect the 3 cables back up. So the first cable being for the digitizer, the second screen being for the LCD, and the third cable is connecting up the front camera and the speakers. So obviously if any of them don't work, you would obviously just disconnect the screen again, disconnect all the cables, and then just go back through the process of popping them in. So we just reconnect the battery without putting any of the metal brackets back on or the screws back in, just to check that it turns on, which in this case it does. So we just disconnect the battery one more time, I pop my iHook cover back in place just to hold the screen whilst I'm doing the work. So we will just first of all put the metal bracket back in over the screw, over the LCD and digitizer connections and those 4 screws. Sometimes you do need to tilt the screen up just a little bit so that you're able to screw it down properly. So in this case, that's what I'm having to do just to get the screw in correctly. So we'll reconnect the battery now, and then we just need to put the screw cover in place, sorry, the cover in place over the battery connector so that doesn't come disconnected. That also covers the connection for the charge dock at the bottom of the iPhone 5S. So just pop those 2 screws back in. And once we've done that, exactly the same as the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 7, we will have to lay the screen flat and then align the lip with the top lip on the metal frame. Otherwise you won't be able to get the screen flat. We also need to reattach the home button. The first thing we do before we start aligning the screen up is just get the home button reattached. I'm not going to show you that because it's a little bit of a fiddle to try and get it the right camera angle. But if you straighten out the flex fairly carefully, and then you'll just be able to pop it back down. Normally there would also be a little metal retaining bracket over the top of this, but in this case it's been repaired previously and is missing. So again, just line the top of the phone up with the top of the frame, and then very carefully push down around the edges without bending the screen too much, otherwise you'll damage it. So there we go, that's it, push down all the way around. Just turn it back on just to check again. So again, that's powering up absolutely fine. The only other thing we've got to do now is pop the 2 screws back into the bottom of the phone, and then that's our repair complete. And that's it. That's the iPhone 5S complete screen replacement done. I hope you enjoyed the video. We also have the video of the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 6S will also be going up shortly. So please ask questions if you are stuck with your own repair. Thank you.